Where do I get all my electrical connectors? Where did I get that backdrop? How does my Arduino multi-block signal work? I got a lot of questions from you guys, and I'm going to answer some of them today on Coffee and Trains.
This video is brought to you with support from my patrons on Patreon. These videos would not be possible without them, and if you'd like to join the Patreon community, you can follow the link in the description below and join for as little as $1 a month.
Hey everybody, my name's Jimmy. I'm just drinking some store brand coffee today. Nothing fancy, but speaking of coffee, what kind of coffees are you guys drinking? Well, Sean Pacific Railroad is drinking Starbucks light ground coffee. John Aerosmith is drinking Vittoria coffee, black with 2 sugars. I like your style, John. And Melville Kitson, how you doing, Melville, is drinking Sagres Lager beer, and that is not a coffee, but he says that he is retired so he can do what he wants, which is totally true. All right, so let's get into some of the questions you guys have, because I've got quite a few to go through here. NH Seacoast, I'm not sure, but I think that the NH probably stands for New Haven. You can correct me in the comments. He asked me what kind of track do I use. Well, on my layout back here, I use Kato Unitrack, and it is just a very bulletproof track. It's not the most realistic looking, and it's a little bit more difficult to get ballast and things like that, but I'm willing to trade that little bit more difficulty to get how well the track runs. And if you do it right, they have enough radii to where you can make it look a bit better and a little less boxy, so that's good. Now, if you're talking about my Garden Railroad outside, I'm using LGB brass track and then some used Aristocrat brass track, and that's what I'm using out there. And I'm getting ready to build a small HO scale switching layout, and I'll be using Atlas Code 83 track for that. So thank you very much for that question, NHC Coast. Dmitry Akminov, sorry about that. He's asked me if I have tried Rokotrak. Now, Rokotrak is not a brand that's really widely available here in the US when you compare to something like Atlas or Pico or Kato Unitrack or the Bachmann track. But it is a brand. You can check it out right here. I'm going to put a link down in the description. And no, I have not tried it yet, but I would be interested to try it. On that same vein, Dave Davis asked me what exactly is HOE, which is one of the narrow gauge variants of HO scale. So HO scale is 1 to 87, so 187th. And HOE is basically, it's a narrow gauge that is HO scale locomotives and rolling stock that runs on N-gauge track. So you basically have a couple different narrow gauges for HO scale, and they can run on T gauge or TT gauge, sorry about that. Those are two very different things. And they can run on N gauge track, and I've never seen someone do Z gauge track.
Okay, pause for just 1 second. There is a HO narrow gauge scale for Z scale track that is HON2. Jimmy had a bit of a dumb moment there.
HOE is HO scale that runs on N gauge track. Thanks for that. Kurt Lacken, he asked if my Garden Railroad is battery powered and does the track get dirty. So no, my Garden Railroad is not battery powered. It is something that I am going to consider in the future. I've seen some very simple ways of using cheap 18-volt drill batteries to make like a battery car. A lot of people will take like a box car and convert it into a battery car rather than having everything crammed in the locomotive. Yes, the track does get dirty. It does get less dirty if you have something like stainless steel track. My layout's pretty small, so I don't really worry too much about having to clean the track. But if you have a lot of the guys that have larger layouts will use stainless steel track. But another G-scale track is aluminum. I do not recommend using that outside. If you're indoors, totally fine. But outdoors, you're going to have issues. But yes, it does get dirty, and I do clean it. And you just use like one of those little like Scotch sanding blocks. I think LGB actually makes a sanding block specifically for it. But you can just do that and just kind of get to where you can see the shine a little bit. You don't want to go too much because you don't want to start wearing down your rails, but you're not going to do that nearly as bad as, say, if you use sanding on the rails back here. So, Custom for Life, he said, did the track that was in my Garden Railroad, is it did it all come in the set, or was it just a circle of tracks? So the set that I bought was the LGB Construction starter set for the Garden Railroad, and that is their least expensive set. The reason I chose it, because A, I didn't want to spend too much money, and B, I wanted you guys to be able to build it and see what you can do with the least expensive set they have. And I've used LGB in the past when I was a kid, and I really trusted the brand. So it comes with a circle of track and the power supply, and the additional track was actually used Aristocrat track that I bought. You can find just tons of used G-scale track on eBay and places like that. So you got to be a little careful. You got to take a look at it. Hopefully the pictures, you can ask the sellers, all that kind of stuff. But you can find, if you need a discount on some track, you can find it on eBay and places like that. Bob Sinclair, he asked me, where do I buy all of my connectors? And he's referring to all of my electrical wiring connectors. So I'll say that if it is something that it is specific to model railroading, such as like Cato's Unijoiners or something like that, I do my absolute best to buy it from a hobby shop. Now, I have about 4 or 5 go-tos that I will go to and look around, because I don't live too close to a hobby shop. The closest probably really good model railroad shop is about 50 miles from me. And I know some people have to go even further, so I rotate between 4 or 5 different online retailers that I'll buy it. Now, for just the generic things, most of the time I will go to buying from Amazon. A lot of times you can find them really cheap there, and if you can't, you can also find them on eBay. If you don't want to go that route, you can also check out Home Depot. I found that Home Depot has a bigger variety of connectors a lot of times than Lowe's does, but I'll go back and forth depending on which one has what. So there you go, Bob. Thanks for the question. Michael DeHarse, he asked, where did I get my cloud backdrop? Well, I told you guys the price, and I realized I didn't tell you where I got it from. I got this specific one from Michael's, which is a hobby chain here in the States if you are outside of the US. And there is another chain that you may have heard of called Hobby Lobby. I know if you're in the US, you've heard of Hobby Lobby. They have a similar backdrop that you can buy there, but it is not the same. The blue is a lot darker and doesn't look nearly as good. So specifically, it is this one right here that I bought from Michael's, and I will link that video at the end where I did this backdrop. Andy Purrs asks, how does my multi-block system work if the adjacent blocks are all occupied? Well, basically, the way that I have it work is it sends like an on or off in between the two, in between the blocks. So each send from a block has a corresponding receive on the next block or the previous block, and it'll send a signal out. If it's occupied, that block sends that signal to the next one, and it'll say that it is occupied, and it will light the corresponding signal yellow to indicate, yes, you can come through, but you have to stop. So if both of them are occupied, I have a bunch of different states that are labeled basically on what the signals are, which is if there's 2 signals, I have green, 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 yellow, yellow, green, yellow, yellow, and then I have a bunch of red, reds just to go for different stages, and then another yellow, yellow. So if both of the adjacent blocks are occupied, it's going to be yellow, yellow. So it's going to be sending it yellow in both directions for those blocks. So both signals will be yellow, and it's constantly checking to see if either a train enters the block and it needs to flip it to red, or if that signal goes away and it can flip the corresponding signal to green. That was a lot of just words right there, but it's kind of difficult to just explain. And one thing that I am really looking forward to working on, this is kind of my never-ending project, is improving this multi-block signal system, because the Arduino block signal is something that was one of the first things I did on my channel, and I wanted to do the multi-block system, and I've been continually improving it, modifying it for current sensing, then just improving the code in general. And I have an idea for something. I don't want to say too much because it might not work, but it's something that a lot of you have asked for, and I want to do that improvement to it and see if I can make it work. And that's going to be the next, I guess, phase in the saga of the Arduino multi-block signal system. So I've got some cool stuff on the horizon. I'm still in the prototyping and writing code phase on that. So if you have questions for me that you would like me to answer, you can put them in the comments below. Also tell me what kind of coffees you guys are drinking in the comments below. And if you are still watching right now, thank you so much, and I want to reward you by telling you my special sponsor today, which is Liquid IV. They have these hydration packs that can basically increase the level of hydration that comes out of your water. They come in all sorts of flavors, and you can check out this discount code and then go to the link in the description below, and you can get a good chunk of money off of ordering that. So thank you so much for watching, especially all the way to the end, and that'll be your little bonus for watching all the way to the end. Until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Stay safe, be kind, drink some coffee, and happy railroading.